For hundreds of years, orca whales have instilled fear in our hearts. They've been called the wolves of the sea and killing demons, all for good reason, as orca whales are known to torture and tease their prey. If these animals are so ferocious and demonic, how did we get to this? The animals that mankind once deeply feared can now be seen performing tricks alongside their trainer. With the recent release of Blackfish, society has increasingly started to question if this type of entertainment is good for the animals. This intriguing and informational documentary has sparked new interest in the plight of orca whales and caused us to wonder, is this natural by any means to keep them in captivity? Let's look back at the history of orca whale capture and captivity. In 1965, Ted Griffin, owner of the Seattle Public Aquarium, heard of a recently captured whale and jumped at the opportunity to own him. Griffin named the whale Namu and towed him from British Columbia to Seattle, Washington to show him off. Namu was an instant success when he arrived in Seattle. Namu and Griffin performed together for 11 months before he passed away. After Namu's death, Griffin remained obsessed with the idea of orca whale captivity and entertainment. He partnered with Don Goldsberry to develop a netting technique for capturing orcas in the Puget Sound, selling the animals mostly to SeaWorld. By the early 1970s, Goldsberry captured more than 200 orcas, selling about 30 to various aquariums and to the rest of SeaWorld. As capture and captivity continued, public outcry and environmental organizations opposed against orca whale capture in Washington and British Columbia, which forced SeaWorld to turn to Iceland for its killer whale captures. However, we must put this all into perspective. If water parks get rid of all their marine animals, people will never get to see them up close and appreciate the need to preserve them in the wild. We are the only life form on Earth that can affect the outcome of other organisms. It is crucial that children are educated about these intelligent marine animals, whether it is going to the parks or watching them through SeaWorld's live show. The veterinarians at SeaWorld work very hard to make sure that the whales and other animals are treated with the best care. Without them, how would the whales get treatments in the wild that they might need? Take the SeaWorld Rescue Program, for example. Their main goal is to rehabilitate animals at SeaWorld so they can be safe in the wild and live healthy, productive lives. Sure, seeing orca whales is educational for children, or may help the whales receive treatment from trainers, but what about seeing them in their natural habitat, in places such as Washington and Iceland? Now when they are kept in places such as SeaWorld, they are changing and not for the better. These killer whales look much different in captivity than in the wild. See that long fin on the orca? That's the dorsal fin, and because of the lack of physical activity, it is flopped over. These rough scratch marks on the skin are from orcas raking each other, which is basically biting one another with their teeth. Imagine being kept in a bathtub for the rest of your life with a few other people. That's life for the orca whales at SeaWorld, who are confined to small spaces where they aren't able to exercise. In the wild, orca whales can swim up to 100 miles a day, something that is nearly impossible for orcas in captivity. When these orcas are brought to SeaWorld, they're put with other whales that they don't even know, which makes them become aggressive and act out. Orcas are proven to be very smart animals with elaborated emotional lives. They have an incredible sense of self and social bonding. They even have a part of the brain that humans don't. In the wild, baby orcas stay with their mothers for life, but at SeaWorld, sometimes the babies are removed from their mothers and sent to a new park. There is such a strong connection between mother and baby, so when this happens, the mother mourns her loss. She ends up screeching, shaking, or even keeping to herself for weeks at a time. Because these large, intelligent animals are being kept in such small corners with whales they don't know well or don't get along with, they sometimes lash out. It doesn't matter how trained you are or how close you think you are with an orca, at any point they have the ability to attack. Ken Peters, a senior trainer at SeaWorld, was dragged to the bottom of a pool by an orca known as Kasaka during a show. The whale ended up letting go, but what if he hadn't? People need to realize that these whales are natural-born killers. That's just how they're programmed to live. Fortunately, there's a solution that solves both the problems of trainer safety and orca welfare dilemmas. An orca or any animal does not deserve to be a prisoner. The only morally acceptable answer is to help these whales that we have slated by releasing them from captivity. The answer is sanctuaries and rehabilitation centers. These sanctuaries allow the orcas to either ease their way back into the wild or provide a more natural place for them to live out their lives. The former trainers can help the process of rehabilitating the orcas by aiding them in the process of relearning how to hunt and eat live fish, along with the conditioning work to return them to wild killer whale physical condition. These facilities can work with experts from around the world to create sanctuaries where captive orcas can be rehabilitated and retired. Let's look at the bigger picture here. Orca whales are not the only creatures being held in captivity, in less than acceptable conditions, separated from their families in the wild or in other zoos and parks. If we are to empty the tanks for all orcas in marine parks like SeaWorld, what does this mean for the zoo industry? So ask yourself, is the educational experience and prospects of conservation worth what many would describe as cruel or inhumane treatment of these animals? I mean, let's face it, they made Free Willy for a reason.